best Marvel property on television. And by the way, we have the best cosplayers.
Yeah.
So welcome. I'm going to introduce myself, and then my panel will introduce themselves, and we'll get deep into the show because we have a lot to discuss. My name is Tracy Mangum. I'll be your moderator. I'm a local filmmaker, also a blogger. I write for stolendroids.com. A lot of geek stuff on there, so check us out, stolendroids.com. Start down here.
Oh, we're starting with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Hello, my name is Kaitlyn Booth. I am the head film writer at Bleeding Cool, film critic at Watch Play Read, and co-host of the Nerd Dome podcast.
My name is McCord Larsen. I am also a filmmaker. I'm a writer and producer for Olympus Media International, and I am also one of the writers on the Salt City Strangers comic book, Salt Lake's premier superhero team, and I'm very happy to be here.
I'm Johansson. I am a supernatural psychological thriller author.
Nice.
So kind of fits right in this wheelhouse.
Nothing like it.
And I feel kind of distant from my panelists.
Come over, switch. If Christian comes, then he
Christian
can
just texted me back. He says he's on my way, stuck in a mass exodus. Are his exact words.
We'll switch. He can sit at the end.
Okay.
Yeah. So, just out of curiosity, I know there's at least one person in the audience who has not seen the show. Raise your hands. Who has not seen Legion? Okay.
Wow.
Just so you know, we will be getting into spoiler territory because the show's been out for a little while, and that's kind of what we're going to do. But
Welcome.
but we hope to encourage you to go see the show because the show is amazing.
And if we confuse you,
That's okay too.
you're in the right place.
You might be actually going slightly less confused than those of us who were just watching it we were.
Yeah.
Right.
So really quick, I wanted to ask you guys, were you familiar with the comic before you got into the TV show?
Oh yeah, I am a big X-Men fan. In fact, going into Legion, my first thought was of all of the Marvel X-Men properties, like that seems like it's the highest fruit up on the tree. Like, why on earth would you ever do that? He's not even ever been able to hold his own series for longer than like 6 issues. And even that was terrible. And he's always been just kind of a plot point previously to that. So I was hesitant, but going in, I was like, man, this better just be like totally out of control crazy, or it's not even going to work at all. But thankfully it was.
I had the barest of bare knowledge about it. I mean, I know my comics, I know who he was, and I knew what connection he had to previous series, but I had no idea what to expect going into this show.
Ladies and gentlemen, Christian Lambert.
Christian,
Thanks for the note. Good.
introduce yourself, and then we're talking about, did you know about Legion? Were you familiar with the comic before the show?
Okay, yes. I'm Christian Lambert. I am a creator at sideswipecomics.com or on social media site at sideswipecomics. Whew, just ran. Sorry. And yes, so I'm old enough to remember reading The New Mutants when Bill Sienkiewicz was and with that wild, crazy artwork. And as a writer and artist myself, reading Claremont and Sienkiewicz, just pushing the limits at that point was like eye-opening because of what you could do in comics. So yeah, I was aware of it.
And you had to read it like 6 times to figure out what was going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was not familiar with it. Is this working? Is this on?
No.
Test. There, you can use mine.
Okay. We're just moving everything. Okay. Yeah, no, I was not familiar with it before, but I think the pitch that was given to me was like, so like super strong mutant with schizophrenia, and I was like, what? and
Over-medicated schizophrenia.
Yeah, I had my my minor was in psychology, and I think abnormal psychology specifically, the classes I took in that really influenced what I write. And so I was like, I'm definitely checking that out.
So for those, because we do have a fair amount of people who are new to the show, new to the comic, can we break down in like in an elevator pitch, in a 30-second spiel, give them an idea of what the show is about? We kind of alluded to it: mutants, superpowers, schizophrenia.
Mind reading.
Yeah, I can.
So over-medicated schizophrenic mind reader.
Oh, it's even a little bit more than that. So Legion.
That was a really good music drop.
Who planned that?
Like, did someone do that on purpose?
Legion is a mutant who has both schizophrenia and multiple personality disorder. And in the comic books, and I think they're going a little bit of that in the TV show, each personality has its own mutant ability and its own personality. And so it's not always a good guy, not always a bad guy. Sometimes he's not even an adult. And things get really crazy from there.
All right, so thank you for that. For those, now you're kind of up to speed. I want to talk about
That's it.
the mental
That's a
illness.
whole show.
I think it's fascinating. We have this superhero show. We've got mutants, we've got superpowers, and we're dealing with mental illness and how is David actually mutant? Is he actually powerful? Is he delusional in thinking that he has these powers? How do you feel like the show has handled mental illness? Was it respectful? Was it good? Was it a fair?
It was kind of hard to judge because the whole show is so surreal. I mean, like, just the cinematography of everything, all of the colors are turned up to like 11, so the whole time you're watching it, you're like, I have no idea if anything I'm seeing on screen is actually happening, which is one of the genius parts of the show, is that it's some of the best, the unreliable narrator, it's some of the best versions of that I've ever seen put on television, because even as like, oh, I know what's going on, you're like, wait a minute, hold on, maybe I don't actually know what's going on, and maybe it's because David has no idea what's going on, and it's so hard to pull off that. Even thinking about it now and thinking about the series, I'm like, it's a miracle that show worked. It should not have worked. There's no conceivable world where it should have worked, but it did.
No, Hawley's a genius. But no, I have had a limited amount of work with some personality disorders and things. I used to be a counselor in a youth home, and dealt with a lot of that. And I think they actually did a really good job of showing the scene. Like pretty much any time they're in the institution, I was like, yep. And they have to do the mouth checks when they take the medicine, and like the little details were.
Some of them were right. I'm not gonna lie, I have some mental disabilities and I have hospitalized myself twice, and there's some of that stuff where I'm like, yeah, that would work. Other stuff I'm like, no, that's not how it works at all.
Yeah, until you find out that it's not really.
Exactly,
Really?
like I said, like any problems I had with the presentation of like the mental hospitals, I was like, I don't think any of this is real to begin with, so it doesn't really bother me. I don't think they're shooting for realism, so.
Well, and one of my favorite things about the show is the minute that I'm like, I'm not sure if this is real or not, one of the characters says, wait, are we sure this is real? And I'm like, okay, I'm not alone.
When the characters in the show are asking the questions to the audience, you've got kind of a background with this. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very similar. I think most of it was, there were definitely things that I recognized as part of the kind of the structure and the system for most mental health care facilities, but then there were other parts that were just like, no, but then it didn't really matter. And I think it's fascinating because it's the ultimate unreliable narrator. You have no idea what's going on. You're constantly questioning whether what you're seeing is real, whether it could be David that's confused. It could be David trying to trick himself sometimes. It's so meta, but it's also like every time that I think it can't get weirder and it can't get more like there's
Surprise.
Like, okay, you can't go past that point. That's a point. Oh, you just did. Okay.
And then episode 7 happens.
And it's fantastic.
I just was looking at how smart our audience is. I mean, you can't watch this show and just be a passive viewer.
No.
So
This
I
is
want to
not
congratulate all of you for coming to this panel because this is it's a hard watch. It is not.
It's the opposite of the Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
That's where you can tune into any episode and know exactly what's going on and everything's the same. And it's fine. It's popcorn entertainment, but this is like fine dining.
I want to watch with these people. I want to watch the episodes with these people because then people will appreciate it. Like, I'm lucky. I have some people in my family that I can watch the show with that really understand it. This isn't something that you just put. Like you're saying, I won't name any names, but other superhero shows that you can just turn on and know what's going on, who the bad guy is.
I judge a lot of shows based on what I can do while I'm watching them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like if I can play a game on my phone or if I can answer emails on my computer, it's like, and then there's shows like this where it's like I have to just shut down everything else that's happening around me and just focus. And my husband's one that he was just like, he watched the first episode. I think maybe he watched part of the second and there was like some, trippy dream dancing thing. And he was like,
The Bollywood scene?
Yeah.
Yes. And he was like, I'm out. I was like, okay.
The Bollywood scene's what got me to watch the show in the first place. Like, when I was watching the previews for it, because I was so skeptical, and I'm like, Bollywood dancing, like, all right, yeah, I'm going to watch this show. This is amazing.
Yeah.
The showrunner Noah Hawley also did Fargo, all 3 seasons of Fargo. So if you're a fan of Fargo, check out Legion and vice versa.
And he's also going to do the new Doctor Doom movie for
Yes.
Fox.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes, which would be fantastic. I want to talk about David's arc. We first meet David, and David is in a mental hospital. David is kind of a broken individual. He's incredibly overly medicated. He's just kind of existing. And by the end of the first season, David, by the way, as they say in the show, could be the most powerful mutant in all of the X-Men universe ever. So how do you go from this guy who's just laying in a hospital bed, just going about his days, drooling into a pillow, to embracing his superpowered self? In 8 episodes, how do we...
Yeah.
Without spoiling too much, it's fun that he trips a few times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That he gets overconfident, that he tries to extend himself beyond what his capabilities are, and without spoiling anything, he messes up a few times before he starts, getting to where he can control his abilities.
Yeah, and then he turns into a beast and traps Belle and sings a song. It's really weird.
Same actor.
For those of you who don't know, Dan Stevens, who plays David in Legion, also plays the Beast in
And
Legion.
McCord is convinced that Beauty and the Beast is a giant illusion of David's.
Yeah, it's
I like that.
just another one of his realities.
That just completely changed my viewing of that movie.
Like the whole trip to Paris.
I have to
like,
rewatch Beauty and the Beast now. This is
Like they actually teleported to Paris
So
because of that.
oh my
in
god.
the same note, does that mean that Downton Abbey is also some kind of?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay.
So wait, does this mean
Because
that
with
David
David
is
Pollock,
like,
everything's
does that mean David is
nothing's
like
off.
the new Tommy Westfall and that all TV now springs from David's head?
Yes.
I hope so.
That's exactly right.
That's why we're in the golden age of television.
Yeah.
That's why.
And that's why all the statues came alive in the third night of the museum too. That's weird. It's true. So to go a little bit into depth into David Holler's powers, his personality, one of his personalities is able to create new personalities as needed by whatever the situation is to kind of protect David, because he is such a frail character because he's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And yeah, oftentimes in the comics it creates alternate realities, and people have to convince him to change it back and stuff. So that's why there's all these new TV realities, is because of it. Yeah.
Headcanon accepted.
It's McCord's brain world is living.
I'm okay with this. I'm alright with that. Let's talk about the genius of Aubrey Plaza, can we?
Oh yes.
I mean, Aubrey Plaza, best known as being in Parks and Rec, and the great thing about this role with Lenny, and then, can we?
Yes,
Spoilers.
yeah. Statutes of limitations. You
Yeah.
are beyond the point of spoilers.
Okay,
Yes, Karen
and
Taylor
also
March.
turns out to be the Shadow King, which we'll talk about him in a few minutes. But the great thing is they originally they wanted to cast a man in this role. They were looking at like a middle-aged man, and Noah Hawley talked to Audrey about a different role, and he's like, "Oh my God, I need to cast you as Lenny." But it's written for a middle-aged man, and she said, "That's fine. Leave." She said, "Don't change a word." And so that's why she plays it as both male and female
Right.
with that character, and she is unhinged in this role. It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
She is fantastic.
It's,
Her dance number was fantastic. She's been interviewed about that. Apparently she was really uncomfortable doing that scene initially. I was like, you can't tell. Girl,
No.
you're killing it.
I saw there was, I think it was on Twitter or something, but after one of the episodes near the end, there was somebody who was like, okay, if they don't do an Edward Scissorhands with Aubrey Plaza as a gender bent Edward Scissorhands,
Ooh.
then there is a big, big problem with,
That would be cool.
with the future of movies. So I was like, that would be amazing. She'd be incredible.
Oh, yeah.
She just goes all out. Like that's a go for broke performance. Like nothing I've seen on TV
Without a
in a while.
safety net, because
Yeah.
that could have completely fallen on its face.
Oh, very, very easily.
It could have gone camp. It could have been awful.
There's a lot of this. Like I said, this show is a minor miracle in almost all aspects of it. Like it really shouldn't work.